All right. You know what time it is. Neil Ratner Rock Doc here with a story. This past week, Paul Simon celebrated his 80th birthday. And today, I thought I'd tell you a few things about Paul Simon that you might not know. And as usual, a little background first. All right. So, Paul grew up in Queens, New York, and began his musical career at the age of 11 after meeting another musical friend, his neighbor, Art Garfunkel. Now, the two would harmonize together and they would imitate their idols, the Everly Brothers. And within a few years, they actually formed a little duo and played around town, played at school dances. And that was really the start of Simon and Garfunkel. Now, at 13 years old, Simon wrote his first song for the duo. But Paul didn't know how to write music. You know, he had it all in his head, but he didn't know what to do with it. So his father, who was both a college professor and a professional musician, wrote the words and chords on paper. That's what Simon and Garfunkel actually used, and that paper became the first officially copyrighted Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel song. And now that piece of paper is actually in the Library of Congress. All right, now, in late 1963, while playing at a folk club in New York, Simon and Garfunkel caught the attention of producer Tom Wilson from Columbia Records. And that led to an audition with Clive Davis. Now, one of the songs that they played for Clive was a song Paul had written called The Sound of Silence, which from the very start, Paul had strong feelings about, thought it was a really good song. Came from someplace other than the normal songs. It was a special song and he knew it. Now, Davis loved the tune, and it was instrumental in getting the pair a record deal. But the album that followed, Wednesday Morning 3 a.m., that was the name of the record, was a total commercial failure. And Simon and Garfunkel broke up, and Paul went off to London. All right. But then a strange thing happened. A late night DJ at WBZ in Boston actually began to play The Sound of Silence. And it was somewhat of a college station. Boston is very much of a college town. And all of a sudden, it became popular in that college demographic. Now, producer Tom Wilson heard about the radio airplay, but he considered the song too soft for a wide release. So he took the track and he overdubbed it with an electric guitar, bass guitar, and drums, and then he just released it as a single, never told Art or Paul. Now, Paul was furious, but it was so successful that it drew him back to the United States to reunite with Art Garfunkel. Now, together, they recorded 4 more albums, including their hugely successful last album, which contained the title track, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. That's right. They only did 5 albums. All right. Now, as with The Sound of Silence, Simon knew he had written something out of the ordinary. In both cases, Paul felt he was just a vessel, and the song came through him. And I have to tell you, I've worked with a lot of great artists, a lot of great songwriters, and they all say the same thing. You know, the really best of their material is stuff that they don't think about and write down, but it's just sort of an inspiration. It just sort of flows through them. So that was for Paul. That was, both The Sound of Silence and The Bridge Over Troubled Waters, 2 incredibly good songs. All right. Now, by the early 1980s, Paul's relationship with Art had deteriorated. His marriage to actress Carrie Fisher Princess Leia, right, had collapsed. And his solo albums had stopped selling, and he became extremely depressed. But what got him out of his depression was when somebody turned him on to a bootleg cassette of South African township music. He wasn't aware of that music. He had never heard that music. And if you've never heard that music, it's really something special. And of course, Paul went on to use it and meet South African musicians in Graceland, which is based on that kind of music, but isn't exactly that kind of music. So if you like that kind of stuff, check out some native South African stuff. It's really pretty cool. Paul was so taken by the music that he got his producer, Roy Haley, and the two of them went to South Africa where they bonded with many of the South African musicians. Problem was, apartheid was still very much in force. So Paul wanted to work with these musicians, but white, black, the whole thing. And he went to the South African Musicians Union and said, hey, can I work with these musicians and make an album? And they said, sure, go ahead. The album, of course, was Graceland, which became Paul's most successful studio album, and it won the 1987 Grammy for Album of the Year. But more importantly, the record introduced the world to that wonderful music of South African townships. As one critic put it, in yoking this intricate dance music to a sophisticated New Yorker sensibility, Simon created a transatlantic bridge that neither pandered to nor patronized either culture. And I would have to agree. Great, great, great album. Okay. At any rate, I don't think Paul, 80 years old, God, Ringo and Paul and a lot of our rock star heroes will be turning 80 in the next couple of years, but hopefully they'll go on for many more. He has no plans to tour at the moment, but on November 16th, a new audiobook will be released by author Malcolm Gladwell, and it's called Miracle and Wonder, Conversations with Paul Simon. All right. I don't know if any of you ever went to the Simon and Garfunkel free concerts in Central Park or Paul Simon's concerts in Central Park. I never got that opportunity. I don't think I ever actually saw Simon and Garfunkel or Paul Simon in concert. My loss. At any rate, so that's my story for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will have another story for you tomorrow, and of course, 3 o'clock on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, iHeartRadio, WDST, Radio Woodstock. I have more stories there as well. You know where to find me around the internet. I have a reading up from yesterday from my book, Rock Doc. You may enjoy it. It's the finish of the story of when I went to Kenya to help the victims of the Al-Qaeda Nairobi bombing of the American embassy. So that's up, and I'll have another reading next week. All right, as I always like to tell you, always remember to keep on rocking, and I'll see you somewhere real soon. All right, bye for now.